We are back on MorningLine. I do not know, Jim, if this number is accurate at this point. You know, NES, trying to restore power after the storms, they have a map that shows where the power outages are. Now, the numbers back up, and this, if it's an error, you know, they'll let us know soon enough, but the maps back up, and the map at this point, and you're one of them, is showing 147,000 people without power. Now, I'm not sure I believe that, but because they had gotten power back up, but then we had more storms last night.
Right.
And so if that's the case, there's an awful lot of people out there without electricity, and it's going to take a while. I mean, remember, didn't they say yesterday it could be up to 2 weeks for some folks to get it back?
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, obviously the hope is that people get their power back on very, very quickly. But you know, Nick, this is one of those things, if you remember, go back to the ice storm like 20 years ago, you know, where whole areas were out without power, and then there were individual homes that were without power, and it took a while. They would, you know, open up a bunch, but then certain ones would be cut off, and then they had to come back eventually to fix that. I'm hoping that they obviously can move very quickly, and what they're talking about over 2 weeks is, you know, those individual situations where they're going to have to go back and fix that, you know, by themselves. But we'll see. This is a lot of work, and again, we talked about it at the beginning. We're hampered by COVID-19, so other entities from other states can't necessarily come in and help us right now. We're kind of on our own. And,
we cannot catch a break. Cannot catch a break. I mean, COVID's affecting everyone, but these storms, one after another, and now word of the murder hornet. The murder hornet. Again, people were sending me an awful lot of photographs when I first posted the story, which went, well, you've heard about this. This is a large Asian hornet that's just nasty. And it's not here yet. I've checked with the state, at least not confirmed, but it's in the Pacific Northwest, but it could certainly come this way. I mean, hornets, locusts, what the heck next?
Well, yeah, I want them to not be here.
No, I would prefer.
I don't want them to be in Washington either, the state of Washington, northwest part of the country, but they look they're a very handsome hornet, but I really don't want them to come visit.
It looks like the hornet character from the Ant-Man movie. All right, let's go to Ronald. Ronald, good morning. What's on your mind, Ronald?
Yeah, I got about 3 quick questions, and then I'll hang up and to answer.
Yes, sir.
First thing I want to know is, why is Nashville not doing the testing on weekends when people are off work so more people can go get tested? Then again, I want to ask is, they look at repealing the Greenbelt tax up there in Davidson County in the state of Tennessee. That'll bring in a lot more revenue from rich people that have 15 acres of land or more that claim they're farmers when they're not farmers. And then the other question is, why is the mayor not laying people off now and letting them get that extra money from the government, the $600 with the also with their state unemployment, and letting them draw that rather than wait till after this is over with and find out that he's going to have to lay people off, and then all they're going to draw is just from the state of Tennessee, which will be 200 and something. It don't seem hardly fair to the people. And now they thought about the mayor cutting his salary, and all those people up there that are drawing those big salaries to take a cut themselves during this time and cut their money back from where they give themselves praises and pat on the backs for the past several years and got us in this shape.
Okay. Well, I do know that the federal stimulus, the $600 that's coming out, that goes away in July.
Yeah.
That goes till July. And now there are folks right now collecting unemployment who were laid off that are making more money on unemployment than they were on their job. Because right now, if you're getting the full state, which is $275, plus that $600, you're making $875 a week, which was more than a lot of people were making on the jobs they were laid off from. But that's going to be going away.
Yeah. Something about the different things that Ronald said.
Testing was his first question.
Yeah,
about
and I'm thinking about testing, and I know he wants it on weekends. I know there are certain places where you can go. The governor's doing free testing for anybody, whether you feel sick or not, but that's not necessarily here. I know we've got sites that are open, but he's asking about weekend sites, and I'm not sure which ones. Sounds like he may have checked, and maybe we don't have anything open on weekends, and I can pass that along, Ronald, to check. But I know he said when people aren't working, but obviously there's not a lot of people working right now. But I'll pass that one along and check on that one. The repealing the greenbelt tax, that may be something that would be more of a federal or state issue. Doesn't have anything necessarily to do with us. We have an interesting bill up tonight that you may want to listen to. It's probably going to get the most well, it won't, because it's going to be deferred, I think. But Councilmember Hall has talked about leveling an impact fee.
Right, I saw that. He sent that to me.
We don't have the authority to do that because the state has said we can't do that.
And explain, an impact fee means that if someone moves to Nashville, they're going to build, or is it for building only, or is it if you're just moving here, where just to be here, initially on top of whatever it's costing for you to move here, you're going to pay this one-time impact fee?
So look at it this way. Let's say you're going to build an apartment complex that has 300 apartments in it, and you're going to build it wherever, Bellevue or someplace. You're going to put it up, and you're going to bring 300 new families or people into that area. Some of them are going to have kids. There's more of there's more need for police and firefighters because you got lots more people out there. There's a school situation if there's kids. You've got road stuff. You've got all this stuff going on. And because Davidson County can't level an impact fee against the developer because we're not allowed to do it, then we have to pick up the money for that, because a developer built a big giant complex, brought all these families in from another place, put them in one place, which means more consequences around the area, but there's no fee assessed.
So are you saying that we can or can't? I'm looking at what he said. It's Bill 2020-276. And it's an ordinance amending Title V of the Metropolitan Code. And again, it may be tabled tonight, but it's going to be discussed, and it's Councilman Hall. Any person who constructs a new residential development or commercial building within the city shall pay an impact fee, a flat fee of $1,500 for each residential unit, a flat fee of $5,000 for each commercial building. So are you saying if you were to pass something like this, the state would step in and say you can't do that?
Well, so here's the situation as I understand it. So we don't have any authority to pass this impact fee, even though I think a majority of people probably going, it's probably a good idea. Council may pass it, but we don't have any authority to implement it.
Well, can't you just create that authority when you say that? What does that mean, you don't have authority? So you have to amend the charter? Can't you give yourself that authority?
No, the authority comes from the state. So they give us the authority to tax certain things.
Okay. And
we don't have the authority in Davidson County to do that. So we can't impose an impact fee because we have no authority to do it. So if we pass the bill, somebody's going to look at it and go, well, they didn't give you the authority to do it. You can't do that to yourself. And then there's the question about, first of all, a legal challenge, because I don't believe, based upon what I've heard, that we have any authority to do it. Then the question is, if we do it, can we challenge it, with the state? Or 3, do we just try to send a message up to the state, because they just tried to look at this a couple of months ago before they adjourned to give us the authority to have an impact fee, and it's my understanding didn't get out of committee.
Because I can tell you, don't you think? I think a lot of the citizens in this city would like this idea, because basically what that's doing is taxing, if that's what you want to call it, an impact fee, the people that are moving here, that are coming here, that are taking advantage of the assets that are already here. And I know other municipalities in the past, Cheatham County, Wilson County, a lot of times there have been impact fees in a county, though. But I guess, is that different, that's been allowed by the state for counties to do that?
They've been given the authority to do it.
Okay, so
we don't have the authority to do it.
Interesting, okay, because that's a way. These folks that are coming, instead of giving them incentives, no, you want to come here, you got to pay an impact fee. And the impact fee makes sense. You're coming here, you're using our roads, our sewers, and all this, and you're coming all at once. You inherit that. You haven't paid a cent of tax now. We want to get some up front if you're going to be using what we're providing you. I can see how that's rational. If you go too high with an impact fee, it can shut everything down.
Yeah, but look at throw out the tornadoes and COVID-19, look at the development that was going on in the city.
Yeah.
And I think we need to have a conversation about it. I think, you know, again, when Ronald was asking the questions, I'm going like, you know, all these things are on the table. It's almost as if we have to rethink a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people. So Nick, you were here. Remember when the income tax was a topic like 15, 20, you know, whatever years ago.
Governor Sundquist. The folks out there protesting.
Yeah, people were throwing stuff
Sure.
and, you know, driving around and screaming. And what happened? There were. In my mind, at that point, when they were talking about it, there were two ways to look at doing it. One was to just kind of push it on people, which is, I think, what they were actually trying to, you know, just do, and say, let's implement it, and then people can figure out if they like it or not. Obviously, a lot of people didn't like it, so it never got there. Or the other thing was, why don't we all sit down and talk about this thing? Because if you looked at it, that type of tax was less regressive than a sales tax, and some people were going to pay a lot less under that as long as there were control factors on it. But no one ever took the time to talk about it as much as they should have. That was a long time ago. Okay, we're not talking about that. You can't have an income tax here anyway. But here you've got property taxes, and you've got sales taxes, and you've got this balance that you're trying to work through. And you know, at some point, you have to kind of figure out how this works together. And maybe it's time you kind of take a step back. I mean, we don't have a lot of time with this budget, but at some point you got to take a step back and go, are we doing all this right? Well, I know people don't like to pay taxes. You know, every time you raise the sales tax, people get mad about that. And then if you raise the property taxes, people get mad about that. At some point, you got to have a discussion about how does this work. And Nick, the last thing I'll say is that, you know, some people say, well, just don't do it. You know, just lay a bunch of people off. Well, based upon the mayor's projections, it's $330 million shortfall. And, you know, if you raise taxes by 10 cents, you're going to generate $30 million. How are you going to cut your way out of another $300 million?
So, I mean, you're saying, you know, even with layoffs, I mean, it's not going to come close to putting a dent in the amount that is needed?
Well, so one of the challenges, and I think, Nick, you may want to try this sometime, is you basically kind of give everybody a sheet, and you say, okay, this is where we are, and this is what you can do. You can either raise property taxes and try to adjust it this way, and depending on how far you raise it, you may have to cut over here. But if you lower the property tax rate, you know, if you don't raise it a lot, what are you going to cut over here? And that's when you get into a fight, when you bring a couple of people together and people go, well, I'm not going to cut the parks, or how dare you even look at talking about the fire and the police? They're off the table. And schools, no, don't touch those. And eventually it's like, well, what are you going to, you know, you've got, if you're not going to do it over here, you've got to do it over here. I know that Ronald talked about layoffs, but then you put more people at work. Well, then people are going like, well, wait a minute, I'm out of work, and other people have been laid off. It's not easy. I mean, we haven't been through anything quite like this before. I know people are upset. We just got to somehow manage to work through this together and try to stay calm and rational and figure out where we go. This is difficult.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it sure is. Let's just take a quick call from Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn, good morning. What's your question or comment, ma'am?
Good morning. I have a question. I work for the school system and transportation, and after May, we have no more income coming in. Are we going to be furloughed to draw unemployment till we return to school?
Okay. Do you know?
Gwendolyn, I would have to check. I don't know that. That would be a question for Dr. Battle and the school board. I don't know. I would recommend that you call your school board representative and see what they can tell you. You know, you never want to give information out that you don't know or you're not sure of. I would do that.
Hey, Gwendolyn, I'm just curious. So right now, as it stands for you, are you getting paid right now, or are you basically off the job right now?
We're paid until the last of May, and after that, we get no more income until school starts back.
Okay, and because of this, now at last of May, you typically, if we weren't in this pandemic, would still be working till when?
No, we'd have to get jobs. Transportation, you have to go out and find a job during the summer.
Okay, so I'm not sure. So you're wondering if you will be furloughed, or meaning that you're not sure if
we
you...
can be able to draw some unemployment and have some income coming in, because the job market isn't open for us to get jobs.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I see it now, too.
That's it. Because, I mean, she would be losing this job anyway, as she has in past years, have to find another one. But what she's saying is when she loses and this goes away, there aren't jobs so much to be had. And that's a pickle. I'm not sure how that plays out. You know, they look at unemployment, right, Jim, whether you've been laid off. Now, maybe Metro can put a designation as though, but if furlough or laid off, it's just kind of the end of when her services are needed, as it's been in the past.
Right.
So I'm not sure, even though this is a special circumstance, that they would. I understand why she's asking, and I think it would be great if she could get that. I wonder, based on how many denials there are sometimes, if they would get a shot at this.
I'm not sure, because the consistent pattern is that, you know, you work until the end of May and then you find something else to do over the summer and then you start back in the fall.
All right, yeah. Let's take a quick. We got to take a quick break on that. When we do, we'll come back and continue our conversation on Facebook as well as on the Plus right after this.
South, Tennessee's favorite home builder, makes it easy to buy a new home. Our online sales counselors will assist you in finding the perfect home. With over 20 neighborhoods to choose from, there's a new home just for you. Pay only $1,000 total closing costs using our preferred lender with zero down financing. Available for first-time buyers. Call 615-219-5644 or visit us online at olesouth.com. That's olesouth.com.
You've always been a hard worker and paid your Social Security. Now you can't work because of a mental condition, illness, or injury. But there's good news. You may qualify for disability benefits for conditions such as cancer, back injuries, depression, arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, and more. If you have questions about your disability claim, call Ponce Law. Justice for all. 615-244-4321. We are accepting cases right now.
We wake up each and every day and watch in awe at how we've grown, all we've accomplished, and what our community can do. We are all part of a transformation, sparkling with energy and spirit. Not every day is smooth sailing, and there's always hard work to be done. But we have so much for which to be grateful. We celebrate life's moments, large and small. We've invited everyone to share what makes our home special, welcoming, beautiful. We realize in the day-to-day stories of our city, it's not always easy to appreciate the big picture. These big pictures are brought to you by News Channel 5's Sky 5. Look for a fresh perspective each new day.
We are back on Morning Line. It's our final segment this morning with Metro Vice Mayor Jim Shulman, taking your questions and comments on the phone and on Facebook. BC here saying, how do you expect businesses to cut their way out of zero revenue while paying an enormous property tax increase? And you hear those types of things. I mean, some of these businesses aren't making anything, and now all of a sudden, the small ones especially, who I think have gotten short shrift in these forgivable loans that are going out, and too many of them going to the big companies. But I really sympathize with the small businesses, and they're like, wait a second, you're going to hit me with this property tax increase on top of the fact that I have zero revenues right now?
Well, you know, we were talking before, 60 Minutes on Sunday, and the first segment is about people, you know, going broke, and I mean, it's horrible. And then the second segment was about farm subsidies that are going to the bigger farms based upon the story. And the question is, it goes back again to what Ronald was talking about, and that is thinking through different options. But how do we fix some of this stuff? How do we make it so that, you know, if the federal government is going to send money through down here that is supposed to be aimed at small businesses, why do the big businesses get them? And the small businesses don't? That's not the way it's supposed to work. That has to be fixed. And so I feel for people who are saying, you know, how do you cut when you have no income, and how do you pay additional taxes? So the hope is that somehow we start figuring out how to deal with COVID-19 for the people's sake, for health's sake, and start eventually opening businesses up, and then the economy moves, and we're watching this and keeping this very under control, and then we start building back that economy. Nick, I mean, 2.5 months ago,
Yeah.
economy was flying.
Oh, I know. It was going great. It was going great. I'll be curious to see if these things come through, and some of these folks who just can't afford to pay it. If I'm in that situation, I don't know what'll go down, but I wouldn't pay it. I just wouldn't. And I'm going to say, come foreclose on me. I don't see foreclosures happening. More than a few sheriffs have said, that's not happening right now. Now, when we get out of this, you're going to have to pay the piper. But in the short term, if you're hit with a tax like that and you can't afford it, if that's me, I'm not paying it. Come get me. Because it's not happening right now. It's just too tough a situation for people. And the sheriffs have said they are not serving foreclosure warrants right now on homes or anything. And I think that's the right thing to do, at least for the moment. So we'll see. Let's go next to Diane. Diane, good morning. What's your question, Diane?
Yes, good morning, Nick.
Hi.
First, I just want to make this comment that instead of trying to figure out how to do it, try figuring out a new way to do it. See, we're in a new time now, so we can't always do things the old way. We need to become a little bit more inventive. When people are laying in their homes and they're scared to go out their doors, the last thing they want to hear is that their property taxes may go up, because right now they're too fearful of becoming ill. And then secondly, what I'd like to ask, if anybody knows this, maybe a psychiatrist knows it or something, why are these people not wearing masks? I had to go into the Dollar General store the other day to pick up a few items. I didn't want to go in there. And yeah, they got the little tape lines and stuff on the floor and everything. But people were just walking around because it was so nice and beautiful outside. They were just walking around with no mask on, no gloves on.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been out, Jim, and I've seen it.
Yeah, so Diane, watch the council meeting tonight. Or I would encourage you to watch it. There's the bill on second reading by, I think, Councilmember Stiles that requires people to wear masks. So you see the debate that goes on, and if you're watching national news or local news, there's a debate going on. People going like, you can't tell me what to do. I was like, okay, I understand that, but we want you to be safe. You can't tell me what to do. So I understand exactly what she's saying. People need to be careful. I mean, if people want to open our economy and our country back, get it back open, people need to be careful so we can keep it open. As for her first point about new ways of doing things, I'm all for it if we can figure this thing out. And that's one of the things, going back to just talking about it instead of all the partisan bickering that happens all the time. Let's figure out if there's a better way. I'm all for that.
It's interesting. I understand people's civil liberties and not being told what to do or what not to wear. And it's like, well, you can't tell me to do it. Last I checked, you pretty much have to wear pants when you go out during the day. Go ahead and try that and see what happens. So, I mean, there's reasonable arguments. And you know what? You can be told. You're coming into my house wearing a mask. If not, you're not coming over. And there's nothing you can do about it. You want to walk around the street without a mask, there's nothing I can do if you're in a public place. If you want to go into a restaurant or a store that has a sign posted to please wear a mask, if you don't, they can politely ask you to leave. And you got to get your butt out of there. You don't have to shop there if you don't want to. So there's plenty of places where we can tell you exactly what to do, okay? But on your own time, in your own home, with your own friends, in public places, and that is indeed your choice. But to say, well, you can't tell us, I don't want to wear a mask. Well, we have to wear pants. I'm not walking around naked downtown. There's all kinds of limits along those ways. It's funny. People have these different lines.
I really do not want to get a story with you.
No, I'm wearing my pants.
But we do want to be careful. I mean, I really do want to get back to, if not the new normal, or not to the complete normal, back to a new normal. But it'd be nice to be able to do the things that we want to do. But like I keep saying, we're all in this thing together, so everybody needs to do what they're supposed to do so we can get back to that normal or new normal.
Jim, thank you for coming on, my friend. We'll see you again next week as you stay safe and stay healthy, all right?
Thank you, you too.
Thanks for coming on. We'll take a break. I'll be back to wrap things up with a programming note about a show I know many of you will want to tune in for. It gets real busy, so I'll tell you about that coming up for tomorrow. Stay with us.